Thank you. We need a motion to confirm the agenda. We do have a change. I'll let Ashley tell you about it.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Eggetts. Item 5.1.1, there's just a change in the minutes, just where the listing of the others present at the December 17th meeting were listed.
Okay, anyone else have anything for the agenda? If not, we have a motion that the following items be changed on the meeting agenda. Item 5.1.1, December 17, 2024, regular meeting minutes, and the agenda as prepared for the January 14, 2025 meeting of Council of the Township of Perth East be approved as amended. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. We have 22 items on our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like pulled? Any questions? I do have one. I'd like 5.1.20. Okay, we'll move the rest of them. So we have a motion that items 5.1.1 to 5.1.22 as set out in consent agenda for the January 14, 2025 regular meeting of council be received for information with the exception of 5.1.20, which will be introduced separately, and the Budget Advisory Committee minutes of December 10 be received for information, and the minutes of December 17, 2024 regular meeting of council be adopted. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. So this one from the Municipal Affairs and Housing is talks about our code of conduct, and I think it would be beneficial if the code of conduct across the board was all the same. Does anyone else feel like that? Andrew?
Yeah, with the larger centers, it might be different in Marigat. So I'm just wondering if this is maybe has its roots in Bill 5. Was that it? Originally, it was started and may have been a little partisan. So that's why I'm a little not willing to support it, just because I think it was a partisan bill. I don't have the information in front of me, but it was introduced by one of the minority government people originally. I think it was Bill 5, if I'm not mistaken.
And where is it now? Did it get through?
Well, last I knew in the summer, it was laid on the table basically permanently, and it just came up again in like October or something, just got brought up again, and the government grabbed hold of it. But up until then, it was pretty partisan. So that's my only caveat is it may not be, you know, I wonder if it might be good to get a report and understand its roots and what it means in that. I don't want to make extra work for staff, but I definitely don't want to do anything to upset the province, right? So,
Anyone else?
Just
Amanda?
in terms, yeah, sorry. In terms of the partisan comment, like, who were you thinking introduced the bill?
I'd have to look it up, but it's been going on for a number of years. I think the number on it was 5. So
Okay, because typically a minister wouldn't, like, it would be if it was quote partisan or whatever. Everything's partisan, kind of, and like that argument could be made. So it would probably be an MPP that's of the sitting government. Otherwise, a minister wouldn't write a letter supporting it.
yeah, I understand. I appreciate the comments. I'm just saying that up until August, I believe, it was on the table at the province. So, and years of sitting on the table. So, and I'm fine with what it proposes. I just want to make sure we understand what we're sending off to the province. So
That's fair.
all I have to say.
Jerry?
Yes, thank you through the mayor. It looks like it was introduced December 12th. I've got an email from the staff as that. It was introduced on the floor December 12th, but perhaps more information from staff, a report would help with all of it that's going on. I know it has been on the books for quite a while.
Okay, so does council wish to do anything with it or just receive it for information?
I'm happy to make a motion that we direct staff to provide some more information to council, some context. I know just like at first glance, I was clicking one of the links that's in the, I think this has some roots to some of the work that's happening in Peel Region. So if you click the bottom of the letter, it says, for more information on these amendments, please see the news release. If you click the news release, it says, until introducing legislation to strengthen local governments, new measures would establish a standardized municipal code of conduct and advance Peel Region transition. So I think it's fair to get some more information on the context, and it'd be helpful. We can have a discussion if we have support for that.
Okay, so you're moving that?
Yes.
Do we have a seconder? Hugh? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're moving on to presentations. We have no public meetings, no other presentations. Public meetings and hearings. We have 2. So the first one, make sure I get it. I declare this public meeting to be open. This public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Harlan and Michelle Martin / Minnow Peters, concession 15, lot 1, less highway widening, 5432 Road 119. This meeting is an opportunity for the township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of an implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk no later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending this meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested in writing following the meeting. All persons attending this meeting will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. I will now call on our planner. Is Haley going to be doing it? Haley, to present the planning report and recommendations. And Haley is joining us on the screen tonight. So welcome, Haley. Nope. Okay, Jeff, you're going to do it?
I'm willing to do it, yeah. I think Haley's having some technical difficulties with her audio. She has a video feed, but the audio doesn't seem to be working. So,
Okay, sure.
Should be able to present on it. So, the first one is at 16. So, I think it's the last I just have to deal with the slides, but so we're presenting the zoning bylaw amendment Z16-2024 for the land basically known as 5432, 119, and 13. Next slide, please. So the subject lands are located on the west side of Perth Road 119, and the surrounding properties are primarily being used for agricultural purposes. Property is designated as agricultural and natural resources environment. The subject property is presently zoned agricultural and natural resource environments. Next slide. Zoning bylaw amendment is required to fulfill a condition of the consent application B42-24. This is approved on November 25th by the Perth County Land Division Committee to sever a surplus farm dwelling from farm operation. The severed residential parcel is 1.39 hectares and includes an existing dwelling, a barn that's going to be converted to a detached garage with an accessory dwelling unit, 3 wooden sheds, a septic system, and a well. The farm parcel is 30 hectares in size and it will remain vacant. zoning bylaw amendment is required for the set of lands to recognize the residential use and accessory uses on that undersized agricultural parcel. For the retained lands to prohibit any new residential development. Next slide, please. Zoning bylaw aligns with the provincial policy statement.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one. Does the applicant or the applicant's agent wish to make a presentation or speak with respect to the application? And we have Mr. Martin online to speak with us tonight. Mr. Martin, are you there? Nope. Nope. Okay, well, are there any questions from members of council? Seeing no questions, then council will consider a resolution regarding the planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the public meeting. Bylaw 216-2024 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. Okay, now we're going to move to our second public meeting, and that is this public meeting is being held to consider proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Luke Danon, Concession 1, Part Lot 26, 3994, Road 108. The preamble is all the same, so we're just going to jump down to calling on our planner, and I presume, Jeff, you will do this one too. So, Jeff, go ahead.
So the lands are municipally known as 3994, Road 108, and east, zoning bylaw amendment is 20.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one, Does the applicant or the applicant's agent wish to make a presentation or speak with respect to the application? Nope. Okay, are there any questions from members of council? Council will consider a resolution regarding the plan and report recommendation following the conclusion of the public meeting. Bylaw 221-2024 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. The public meeting is now concluded and we will continue with the regular meeting of council. So the first public meeting that we had, we do have a motion, and is that the Township of Perth East received the report dated January 14, 2025, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14-Z16-2024-PE, submitted by Doug Reum on behalf of Harlan and Michelle Martin, affecting lands described as Concession 15, Lot 1, Less Highway Widening, municipally known as 5432 Perth Road 119, and that council held a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment D14-Z16-2024-PE, and that council approved zoning bylaw amendment 216-2024. Mover and a seconder, you have a question?
I think there was a mistake in our explanation in those. It says part lot 31 concession one house one. It's on page 93 of our agenda.
Yeah, and I actually did send out.
Oh,
Did you send something out today to correct that?
Not that one. There was a different item that Jeff will speak to in his report. That was one of the severances.
I just noticed that reading through it.
It's just a typo in the report, but not the motion.
Oh,
Right.
okay. It's just in the report.
It's just in the report.
Not in the motion.
Yeah.
Motion will have the right address.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
okay.
why I just wanted to make sure that-
yeah.
But I'll
No, thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so moved by Hugh, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. And then our second public meeting is the Township of Perth East Council received the report dated January 14, 2025, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14-Z21-2024-PE, submitted by Leanne McDonald on behalf of Luke Danon, affecting lands described as Concession 1, Part Lot 26, municipally known as 3994 Road 108, and that council held a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment Z21-2024, and that council approved zoning bylaw amendment 221-2024. I need a mover and a seconder. Oops, sorry, moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We have no public hearings, so now we're going to move to planning reports, and the first one is an application for consent submitted by Cedar Rose Homes. And Jeff, are you going to do that?
Thank you. So the consent application is B48-24, submitted as originally submitted.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report, Hugh?
So basically, we're just moving this back to what it once was, and then somebody made a mistake and the line is drawn in the wrong place, and they just want it back to where it was.
Yeah, through the mayor, so what had happened was when the developer was, the builder was purchasing the lots, they were looking at an old plan that hadn't been approved by the courts. So it was a previous plan for the subdivision plan that they were going by, and they are looking to construct a building, their dwelling that wouldn't fit on the lot as what was approved for the registered plan.
Okay, anyone else with questions? If not, we have a motion that the Township of Perth East Council advise the Land Division Committee of its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports the application file D10-B48-2024-PE submitted by Cedar Rose Homes, Inc. for lands described as lots 15 and 16, Plan 44M80, Milverton Ward in the Township of Perth East, subject to the following conditions. Excuse me, in Perth East, we have 6 conditions, and I'll try to give you the short form of them. Number 1 is that a letter is provided by the clerk to the township advising the secretary treasurer of the land division that all requirements for the Township of Perth East financial services and otherwise have been compiled with. Number 2, that the owner provide a cash in lieu for parkland to the satisfaction of the township. 3, confirmation be received for the township that the apportionate schedule for the municipal drains in this area be reviewed and updated. Number 4, confirmation be received that the severed and retained lots have been assigned separate municipal addresses and signs. Number 5, that the road access to the severed and the retained parcels are to the satisfaction of the Township of Perth East. And number 6, that the owner and / developer enter into a development agreement with the township and the terms of the agreement be satisfactory to the Township of Perth East, including but not limited to A, a provision for connection to potable water services, sanitary and storm sewage systems, B, financial securities and requirements for connection to municipal water and sanitary, and C, requirement to obtain a permit for driveway entrances. And the County of Perth has 3 conditions. And those are, number 1, that confirmation be received from a solicitor that the certificate of the official be scanned and attached to the electronic registration for the transfer. Number 2, the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed or / transfer. And number 3, that the solicitor's undertaking be received by the County of Perth to the effect that the severed parcel be added to as a lot addition to the abutting parcel described as Lot 16, Plan 44M80, Milverton Ward, Township of Perth East, and that Section 50 of the Planning Act shall apply to any subsequent conveyance or transfer of the severed parcel. And confirmation be received from a solicitor that the resultant lot will be encumbered by any mortgage as one lot at a time of registration or transfer, or that there are no outstanding mortgages or encumbrances on the land to be consolidated, and that any undertaking be received from the solicitor that the severed parcel and benefiting land be consolidated under the land title into one PIN. Okay, we moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, our next application is an application for consent, and this was submitted by Tom Diamond, and it's part 45, concession 3 of Northeast Hope. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the consent application is B49-24, and it's for the Lands Act 4335/119. Applicant is proposing a lot addition to provide for easier access to the existing shed, control water on each property, and to improve functionality of the lots. Next slide, please. So that portion of the lot addition would have a lot area of 241 square meters. The lands to retain it would have a lot area of 2,188 square meters. The lands to retain are occupied by a single detached dwelling, and the property to be enlarged contains a single detached dwelling and accessory structure. Next slide, please. Public notice was provided to neighboring property owners on December 6th. And the writing report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public. Ideal One and Blue Water Recycling stated that they have no comments or concerns with the consent application. And Upper Thames River Conservation Authority has no objection to the consent application, as the lands to be severed are outside of the pasture lands and no new land is being created. County of Perth official plan allows for the enlargement of existing non-farm properties if the criteria within the section 5.16 is satisfied. Planning staff are of the opinion that the existing shed at 4341 Brookfield 118 already maintains proper access, and the applicant does not provide sufficient evidence that the drainage of the property requires that a lot boundary adjustment is needed in order to maintain functionality of the subject land. A further reduction of the lands to be retained would result in an irregular parcel of land, and the reduction in size of the retained lands may impact the ability of the property to service the existing dwelling. If changes to the existing water and septic services can be needed in the future. The septic system for the retained lands is located directly behind the existing dwelling, and the reduction in lot size may limit the ability to relocate or expand that septic system. Many staff are not satisfied that the adjustment is needed. The lands retained are already smaller in size than lots that are generally created to surplus farm dwelling utterances. The lot line adjustment would result in a further reduction in the undersized non-farm residential property that is already difficult to service privately. Planning staff are not supportive of the planning proposed severance, as the official plan policy is not being implemented.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report? Amanda?
Just confirming that the applicant was aware prior to the council meeting that we would not be, your recommendation is not to support it.
Through the mayor. So we identified our concerns with applicants through the pre-consultation process and the discussions prior to writing the report. And we did notify them that we would likely not be able to support that application. So nothing has changed since then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Hugh?
The septic system on the retained lot, though, as I understand, it's a new system. It's a fairly big system.
Through the mayor, I haven't been given details on the septic system. It wasn't provided with the application. There has been previous permits that have been issued, and it's shown on the slide that's on the screen that the drawing on the right-hand side shows the location of the septic, and it was approved by staff from Perkins.
Okay. Anyone else with questions? No? We do have Mr. Diamond with us tonight. Would it be all right with council if he spoke? Okay, Mr. Diamond, if you'd like to come up to the chair, please.
We actually have Jason, the owner of the property,
Okay,
that is where the small parcel is severed off of, and we can speak to the actual septic having been
okay, so if you just could state your name and where you live for our records,
Sure.
please.
Tom Diamond, 4341 Perth Road 119.
Okay, go ahead.
Essentially, the septic system, like the lot which is shrunk by a little bit, is already established with that perimeter in mind of the severance.
Okay,
And it is the new style raised that sort of the water basically now shifts more towards the lower lanes. It's just natural.
okay. So maybe you could give us a little history why you want the land severed or what?
It's probably because the the triangle, not triangles, the two lots protrude right into the location that we reside at. Partially, if the buildings would have been placed more adequate, it would be a lot easier to use. But the fact that that protrudes virtually into our area, we've treated it since we've been there as, I think that area, and treated it as if it was essentially severed or handed off in that sense. It's unfortunate that the buildings were placed there, but that's how they were.
Okay,
Previous orientations.
okay, so do you want to say anything else, why you want this severed, or what the rationale is? I think that's what council's looking for.
Okay, the functionality or the feng shui of our property would be enhanced and simplified. You can pull beside and around that shed with ease without trampling on your neighbor's property, so to speak.
Okay, any questions from members of council? Nope, I don't see any questions, so thank you. Okay, I'll read the motion, we'll see where it goes. No? Bob, you want to say something?
I'd be prepared to make a different motion.
Okay,
I appreciate the planning department have official plans to follow, but this is an agreeable severance amongst neighbors, so we see it quite often. So I'm going to make a motion that we would support the application, approve the application.
okay. So Bob's going to move, do we have a seconder? Hugh?
Jeff has recommended some conditions if it did go for approval.
If it did.
If it was recommended for approval, so just if those could be read, I don't know if he wants to speak to me.
Okay. We do have a motion for if the approval, and we do have some conditions. Jeff, do you want to speak to any of the conditions before I read them?
Certainly, I can provide a little bit more information on the conditions that are before you, and I'll briefly just kind of touch base on what each of them are. So there's 5 conditions per piece that we're suggesting. One is for municipal drains. One is to ensure that there is separate addresses for each of the lots, which should already be in place. One is to ensure road access, and the last one is for lot sizes and potential for because the undersized parcel is being further reduced in size, they'll need to get a minor variance or rezone on that property because you're further reducing the land. So it already doesn't comply, it's going to comply even less afterwards, so it's a condition to ensure that that gets taken care of. And also the shed that's on the property now, I think it's too close to the lot lines, and we haven't seen a sketch that shows what that dimension is. So that requires a minimum of 3 meters away from the interior lot line. It's will be the main lot line that's being severed. So that will need to be taken care of as a condition. You have to apply for that minor variance if it does get approved at land division committee. And then the first county conditions, I am proposing 4 conditions there also. 2 of the conditions are basically to ensure that the lot additions continue into the same ownership name, so it gets consolidated with the adjacent property. And the last condition that we're suggesting is that an undertaking be received from the solicitor that the retaining lands are going to be consolidated under one name. So the retaining lands right now are under 2 different property identifiers, so just 2 properties right now. If they're going to further reduce those lands, they should become one property. They're functioning as one property, and there really isn't an ability to build another dwelling on either of those 2 lots. So they're going to be consolidated. So those are the conditions that we're suggesting, and this is consideration.
Okay. Hugh?
Just which property has got 2 kids?
So it's the.
Mr. Diamond's property or Mr. Horst?
Sorry, yeah, so it's the undersized parcel, which is shown on the sketch. You can see the dividing lot line on the screen. And it's basically 2 lots that are there right now. It's two units. I don't think anyone's pointing at those lots.
I didn't know. Okay, so
It's
that's fine.
retained lands.
This one is here, where the fourth.
Okay. Excuse me. So is the mover and the seconder okay with all those conditions?
I am.
Okay, so the Township of Perth East advised the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports the application file D10B49-2024-PE submitted by Thomas Diamond on behalf of Allison Horst for lands described as Part Lot 45, Concession 3, Northeast Hope Ward in the Township of Perth East, subject to the following conditions. And Jeff just went through the conditions. I'm not going to go through them again. Okay, so we have that moved by Bob, second by Hugh. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, now we're going to move to the CAO department, and our first item is the North Park of Shakespeare subdivision agreement. Mike?
Thanks, Mayor Agates. Yeah, I think the report is pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, this is the next stage as it relates to subdivision proposal in Shakespeare, basically the extension of William Shakespeare Street and the development of those lands, as you can see on the screen. At this point, we've been working with this property got draft plan approval with a previous owner, and that owner worked with township staff and our engineer as it relates to the servicing design, and then it was recently sold to Apple Home Builders, who are now looking to proceed with the actual construction of the subdivision, and the subdivision agreement that is in front of council is kind of the next step, kind of confirming the layout and the provision of services, the extension of the street, the addition of sidewalk, water, wastewater extensions, all those things are subject to the agreement, and they've asked to proceed, and we're bringing it in front of council for hopefully your approval.
Okay, questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor Agates. Is there any difference between the previous proposal and this proposal as far as density, size, setbacks, all that stuff? Everything's basically the same as it was with Mr. Wilhelm?
Correct. Yeah, everything is remaining as initially proposed. So it was a total of 8 lots, 4 single-family dwellings, and then 4 lots with semis on it, which was what was the original proposal that had come forward.
Okay, anyone else? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated January 14, 2025, entitled North Park of Shakespeare Subdivision Agreement, CAO-2025-01 for information, and that council enact bylaw number 02-2025 to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a subdivision agreement with 2274581 Ontario Inc., care of Apple Home Builders in the form or substantially the same form as the draft agreement. Moved by Bob, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Mike. And we'll move down to clerk, and we have the Godrich to Guelph Rail Trail structure replacement. Ashley?
Okay, thanks, Mayor Agates. So the report before you is to recommend approval for Rice Construction Contracting to be awarded the tender for the rail trail construction. We have not used Rice Construction Contracting before, so we did receive references and everything looked okay, so we're recommending to move forward with them. The engineer's taken a look at the references as well, and earlier this evening the Court of Revision did meet and upheld the assessment schedule, and I can try to answer any questions if there's any.
Okay, questions of the report? Jerry?
Just a comment, I'm hoping this company applies for all the drains it's unbelievable. You got the high bid of 153,000 and a low bid of 35,000. It's just, I just can't fathom it, but I guess that's the way things are these days.
Okay, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive a report prepared by the Manager of Legislative Services / Municipal Clerk dated January 14, 2025, entitled Tender Opening, Godrich to Guelph Rail Trail Structure Replacement on the McCoy Municipal Drain 2024 CLE-2025-02 for information, and further that the council award the tender for construction of the Godrich to Guelph Rail Trail Structure Replacement on the McCoy Municipal Drain 2024 to Rice Construction Contracting, Inc. with their submission of $35,524.95 excluding taxes, only upon satisfactory resolution of all appeals before the Court of Revision. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. Excuse me, all those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Ashley. Now we'll move to finance, and we have adopt the final estimates of all sums of the budget. Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Rigetts. Before council tonight is the 2025 final draft of the 2025 budget. And just to recap the budget where it is, as it is presented tonight, is there's a 6% levy increase for 2025. And when we account for growth, assessment growth within that, it comes down to a 4.18% increase. The Perth East taxes on a median residential property annually would be $1,731, or a 4.85% increase from 2024. And that further breakdown is an $80 annual increase, or $1.53 weekly, or 22 cents daily. Within the 2025 budget as it's proposed, there's a decrease to reserves of 1.4 million. There is a inclusion of capital projects in the amount of 8.2 million. That summarizes my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. I'm just wondering, is because we've done our process sooner, is that why the county is not in yet, or what's typically the county timeline for theirs?
Typically, the county is, we're working on ours right now. We have had two meetings, like, the county is a little different. They included in our actual meetings of county council.
Oh.
And so we've asked for some more information, and that's coming back. And I think further discussions, because of Roma and everything else that's going on, aren't going to happen to the first meeting in February. So the county is, we're working on it, but we're not quite there.
So adopt by when-ish?
We don't have a date that they're going to adopt it by.
Cutting it in half, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else with questions? If not, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled 2025 Final Budget prepared by the Manager of Financial Services Treasurer dated January 14, 2025 for information, and that bylaw 07-2025 being a bylaw to adopt the final estimates of all sums required by the township for the year of 2025 be given 3 readings. Moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Paula. Okay, we're going to move to Public Works, and it's Road 140 Boundary Road Agreement, and we have Jake with us. So Jake, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor Rigetts. Before you tonight is a renewal for the Boundary Road Agreement, Road 140 between Perth lines 55 and 86. Obviously, we've had an agreement in place with North Perth for many years. No changes of significance in this agreement. There was, however, some information that we received following the issuance of the agenda. We just heard from our insurer around something they suggested including in the agreement, which is our coverage laying out specifically our liability coverage, which for all of our other roads is 15 million. We're just waiting to hear back from North Perth to confirm that they have the same coverage. Now, the bylaw itself has verbiage which speaks to allowing minor changes after the fact. So our intent is to make those changes, make sure we're on the same page as North Perth, and carry on forward. If there are any questions, I will try and answer those.
Okay, any questions of the report? Nope, no questions, okay. We have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Road 140 Boundary Road Agreement with the Municipality of North Perth, PUB-2025-01, dated January 14, 2025, prepared by the Manager of Public Works for information, and further that Council enter into a boundary road agreement with the Municipality of North Perth for Road 140 between Perth Line 55 and Perth Line 86 by giving 3 readings to bylaw 06-2025, being a bylaw to enter into the agreement. And that Council enact bylaw 06-2025 to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a boundary road agreement with the municipality of North Perth for Road 140 in the form or substantially the same form as the draft agreement. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jake. Okay, we have nothing for building. Under Parks, Recreation, and Community Services, we have the Greenwood Park Revitalization Plan, and Becky, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor Rhonda. Before you is the report outlining proposed phases of the redevelopment of the Greenwood Park. Along with it, each development or each phase has funding and expenses for each phase. Of course, each phase is based on whether or not we receive the funding. There's been a number of different grants and that have already been applied for that we have been unsuccessful for, but some we have actually received funds from. This report was brought forth after discussion at previous council meeting with regards to different groups coming forth with different ideas or just trying to put the plan all together as one plan. So this report reflects that. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions, Amanda?
Yeah, thanks for the report, Becky. It's really thorough. And I appreciated you inserting the resolutions as well as a good reminder. I just had a question, and apologies. I know it's like referenced in the report, but I thought I also, because you mentioned that council may wish to create a committee of council, or sorry, for this Greenwood Park revitalization project. I thought I made a motion also on a staff report on what a committee could potentially look like. I thought I had also, and it was carried. I vaguely remember that. And so I just am asking, like, so the recommendation is to approve this as like for information, right? But my question is, will there also be a staff report coming on based on that motion?
Within the report, it has, you know, if council were to go with a committee of council, what possibly their roles would be, and then it would be up to the council whether or not they would wish to have that committee.
Sorry, I guess like, yeah, I see the numbers laid out on like what the role of the committee would look like. I guess in my head, what I was thinking is, what could the committee look like? What would it be comprised of? If we were to do a committee, what would the member, like, how would we go about selecting members of the committee? Like, would it, because we have all these moving pieces of different, like we have the dog park folks, we have the volleyball, we have the school. So I guess like in my head, that's what my intent of the motion was, but it's okay. Like, this is great. Like, I love what you put together. Don't get me wrong. I just, I was just curious about that.
Jerry?
Yeah, I recall some of that discussion, but my thought was that this report would come, and now we're suggesting we may wish, so obviously this is a multi-year project, it's not happening 1 year, that a subsequent report would come back if council decides, perhaps at this meeting, if that committee needs to be created, so that I'm not sure what staff's thinking, but that during this little discussion that we would, if we wanted to create a committee, then a report would come back saying, here's the composition, yada, yada, with all the details. But again, this is a great report. That's kind of what I thought was happening was, here's the report, and if we want to do the committee, then we would have decide tonight, unless staff is more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess the reason I was confused is that it was, the way it was worded is like, we're recommending this to receive for information. So there was no recommendation on whether staff felt we should do a committee or not. So anyways, maybe I'm like worried about getting into the weeds about it. This is a good report. I just wanted to, I was just sort of curious about that, but that's a fair point, Jerry, in terms of sequencing.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm looking at page 2 of 9, P221, I think. Something's wrong with the numbering. And it talks about in the one paragraph there, each phase relying on funding through grants, development charges, capital replacement, and community fundraising. I understand most of that, but capital replacement, I don't understand. Is that asset management component? So
yeah, if it's already been identified in the capital replacement, like playground, for example, would already be.
So stuff that's already been built.
Yeah, if replacing an existing, yes. So a playground is probably the only thing that's in that.
So do we know, I guess that brings a question, and I'm sorry, I just saw this now, is do we know how much yearly contribution, I know it'd be a hard thing to figure out on the fly, sorry, I made the treasurer smile. Is there like a percentage of what yearly contribution would have to go to support the asset management on that? Or is that not that simple? On that value, not saying anything about the project, just I'm kind of wondering about the nuts and bolts.
Since it's through you, Mayor, it would be a complicated calculation based on useful lives of the various assets and the annual contribution amount. So if I had some time, I could probably guesstimate what it would be. If I have approximate values, so I could work with Becky on the estimated lives and.
Just curious, it's always
get
something that I think we need to think about when we're doing anything anywhere in the township, right?
Yeah.
Is this with the existing assets, Councillor, or are we talking about all the items?
I'm just looking at the $630,000 end result and what will that mean to the tax base for yearly contributions to asset management?
I think it's it's a relevant question as it relates to any times we're embarking on a major project like this. Once these assets are in place, yeah, we have an obligation to maintain them and to replace them. Certainly that's not something the staff's trying to hide from council. It is hard to estimate that, but yeah, I think it's certainly part of the commentary around doing a major project like this is that once these assets are there, we have a responsibility to them. So it's always sexy and fun to build new things, but I think the realities associated with once they're in place is something that we as a staff also give consideration to and respect that. Yeah, it's great when we have community groups coming forward with great ideas to enhance the community, and we don't want to be the Debbie Downers all the time, but we do think about the questions that you've asked. So it certainly is part of what needs to be considered when we are looking at a large project like this.
I think it's great. Get people outside. It's something that we don't normally think about, and I noticed it in the report. So obviously, it's not trying to be hidden. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's just no percentage. I guess it's a calculation, probably. Yeah. Anyway, just something to keep in mind. Thanks.
Becky, so then this coming year, the soccer pitch is for sure going to be done this year. Is there anything beyond the soccer pitch that'll for sure be done this year?
So, yeah, so the things that'll get done, completed this year is a soccer pitch and tree planting, which is already funded for.
Okay, Bob?
The revitalization of Greenwood Park is a great idea, but it is just a concept. It hasn't been accepted by council because it has a large price tag to it. I'm not sure where you're going to get the money. I'm aware that you're going to continue to apply, but my concern, I guess, stems with the increase in insurance when you have other amenities. Is there going to be a need for more staff when we're running around to different facilities all throughout the township and having to clean up or repair vandalism and et cetera? The pickleball courts seem to be the big thing in most municipalities. Is there interchangeability between a basketball court and a volleyball court and a pickleball court, that you can have, one court that makes use of, or two courts or whatever, it makes use of all those options? So at this point, I'm leery of doing anything more than continuing to wait on some other options for funding or donors who are in the community wishing to help this growing but only fully serviced urban area we have. So great idea, a little leery on all the other things that fall into place. So I'll leave it at that, Becky.
Okay, anyone else?
No, I want Becky to answer.
Oh, sorry, Becky?
The interchangeability of courts.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Right.
yes, so, yes, so there is, in the concept, there is strictly pickleball courts that would be in the new area, and then closer to where the pavilion would go, those are multi-courts, so it would be a basketball court, a hopscotch court. There's like 50,000 different lines in the court that, well, not quite 50,000, but it has, yes, so that is certainly something that can be looked at. I know that pickleball is very popular in a lot of communities. We do have a lot indoors, but as of right now, we don't have a cry for it outdoors. We take our indoor nets outdoors and just do it in the parking lot, and it's not very popular at all because I think the playing surface itself isn't very good. So yeah, hopefully that answers.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Go ahead, yep,
If I
go
may,
ahead.
Mayor, I think the part of the basis of the report too, in particular, maybe from my perspective, is we do have a lot of interest coming forward through our recreation manager around moving forward with the Greenwood revitalization. And I sense the hesitation and the trepidation with council around that. And we're happy to continue to tell them we're not doing anything until there's funding. But I don't think this is going to stop. I think there will be continued questions from council about when we are proceeding, when the concept is going to be finalized. And so part of the thinking was perhaps a committee would help with that, scope it, address what the primary needs are, whether it's pickleball, multi-use courts, to finalize the concept and lay that out in a more strategic way. At this point, it's basically until we get funding, we don't do anything. And then if for whatever reason we got funding, we'd be piecemealing maybe the dog park. And then questions would be, well, when are we doing the next step? So we're doing it in a piecemeal way, and that's fine, that's okay. But there have been issues that have been raised tonight by council in terms of overall concerns with this. Perhaps establishing a committee that looks at and considers things like insurance, like replacement of assets, like the maintenance associated with that is the next logical step. I don't want to push that, but that's from a staff perspective, we're kind of left in a bit of limbo because we do have community members that have seen this and have interest in it and want to know when it's proceeding. And our answer right now is council's seen it and has accepted it as a concept. but are not supportive in moving forward unless there is funding for it. That's the fine answer, and that's the answer that Becky can continue to provide. But if there is ideas about moving this forward in a more strategic manner, then that would be the idea of having a committee.
Bob?
Yeah, I appreciate the input, Mike. My concern from the previous meeting was once you formed a committee, you're basically saying we're going to proceed with this. And I'm going to say to Hugh, would you support this without the funding in place? I'm assuming he might say no. So I didn't want to put the cart before the horse, and I can appreciate your comments that people are wanting this built yesterday. But again, there's a financial contribution, and unless some developer is prepared to put in something with their name on it, then I guess we're waiting until Trillium comes up with some money or some other entity. But, you know, it's, for me, I guess it's let's get the ducks all in a row and then you proceed. But I appreciate there's sometimes another opinion.
Jeremy?
Yeah, and what we're being asked to do tonight is just receive it for information, right? And then Becky's got a very nice semblance of a plan here over the next 4 or 5 years, and we've asked these other two groups to go back and build a plan for us too. So I think we're doing the right thing tonight to receive for information. We're going to hear back from these other two groups, and you can definitely see some of these projects that they want to work on moving forward before some of, you know, phase 3 is the dog park, but we have people that want to push the dog park ahead now, and phase 2 is the new pavilion. So it could totally happen that the pavilion comes after the dog park, because the dog park's off, you know, sort of to the north side, and it's already in an area that's being developed. So I think what Becky's done here is great, and we receive for information, and we apply for funding when it comes up, and we let these other groups come forward as they see fit. And that's all we need to do tonight.
Jerry?
Yeah, I can see both sides of having a committee of council, but maybe perhaps not right now, maybe in the near future, but not now. We do have a lot of input, and Becky's done a great job, so at some point we probably should convene some kind of a committee, but right now I think we just receive and we do the best of getting some funding.
Amanda?
Just some other sort of comments. I think I agree with what other folks are saying about the timing of. We don't want to give people the wrong impression to start a committee. It would be nice to have a committee to show that we care, but of course, ultimately, a committee of council, like with members of the public, ultimately it's council making the policy decisions. And I'm looking back again at the original resolutions, and we basically saying that we're supporting the proposed concept and request that the committee, request that they report back with a business plan and funding updates. And so I think if we're getting pushback, perhaps we stick to that intent. The other just suggestion is perhaps we tone it down on social media in terms of promoting other committees. They're not a committee of council yet, so maybe we support them through other ways. So it optically, I know people are really excited, and I actually really like some of the presentations we've had. You don't always get this level of engagement in every community, so we're really fortunate. So I don't want to deter people, but I just think I think we perhaps leave this as is and wait for those business plans to be brought back to council and updates on fundraising. Go from there.
Jeremy?
I was just going to move the recommendation.
Okay. So we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by the Manager of Parks, Recreation and Community Services dated January 17, 2025, entitled Greenwood Park Revitalization Plan, PRCS-2025-01 for information. Jeremy's going to move that. Do we have a seconder? Amanda? All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Becky. Okay, we do not have any reports from fire. Under correspondence, we have one item of correspondence, and that's the from Julie Welker, it's Source Protection Coordinator regarding proposed update to the 10 Sydenham Source Protection Plan and Assessment. And I think Mike has some comments about that.
Yeah, very briefly, I reached out to Ms. Welker once we received the correspondence, and very generally I asked her if she could confirm whether the proposed updates would impact the mapping or the layout of our source water protection areas in Shakespeare and Milverton, and was told no, that would not be implications. There may be implications going forward as it relates to use of road salt, storage of road salt in certain areas, but that is going to be widespread for all municipalities to address. I was more concerned about implications on our source water protection areas and building in those areas, those type of things, whether there was changing in mapping, and she confirmed there wasn't. So I just wanted to share that with council. Certainly if this is an initial step that they're proposing, but if council's comfortable, we could pass the resolution. If not, certainly I believe Ms. Welker would be open to coming and answering additional questions if council had them.
Okay, questions of the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence regarding the proposed update for the 10 Sydenham Source Protection Plan and Assessment Report dated January 7, 2025 for information. Moved by Jerry, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to council and committee reports. My mayor's meeting log is there where I was for the month of December, or where I wasn't. Hugh did attend the Milverton Parade and the Shakespeare Parade on my behalf because I was away. Any questions on any of that? Do we have any council reports? Any committees, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, thank you, Mayor, it's the twinning committee, it's a council thing. I haven't seen any meeting minutes or any activity on that one. Do we have a memorandum of understanding for that group too? I couldn't find it either. Do we have any reports on twinning?
So our first twinning meeting is set for the end of the month or the start of February, one of the two dates. There's a poll out right now. We're just waiting for a couple members to get back. And then there'll be the minutes from that meeting that would come forward in the consent agenda for council.
So does that a committee of that type require a memorandum of understanding to operate?
We have a terms of reference that they'll be looking at, yeah.
And council will see that?
Usually we would take it to the committee for their review, and then we can bring it to council for their approval first, and then the committee could adopt it.
Sure, thanks.
It's been a while since we've had a first brand new committee.
Okay, any other questions? So we need a motion to accept the mayor's meeting log. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we have bylaws. We have first and second reading bylaws. We have 14, first and second. So the first one, bylaw 01, 2024, building inspector appointment. The second one, bylaw 02, 2025, authorized signing of North Park of Shakespeare subdivision agreement. That was on tonight's agenda, 8.2.1. The third one is bylaw 03, 2025, to provide for interim tax levies for 2025. The fourth one, bylaw 04, 2025, tile drain loan. Fifth one, bylaw 05, 2025, temporary borrowing bylaw for 2025. The sixth one, bylaw 06, 2025, boundary road alignment, agreement, municipality of North Perth, and that was on Road 140. The seventh one is bylaw 07, 2025, to adopt the final estimates of all the sums required for the year of 2025, and that was item 8.4.1 tonight. Bylaw 101-2025, that's branch A of the North Black Creek Municipal Drain Final Assessment. The ninth one, bylaw 102-2025, the Wilker Municipal Drain Final Assessment. The 10th one, bylaw 103-2025, the Kelly Municipal Drain, the City of Stratford Assessment. Bylaw, the 11th one, bylaw 104-2025, the Gilkinson Municipal Drain, that's in North Perth, and an assessment. The 12th one, bylaw 105-2025, Atkin Municipal Drain, that's also North Perth assessment. The 13th one is zoning bylaw 216-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, and that's in regards to concession 15, lot 1, less highway widening in Ellis, and that was item 7.1.1 tonight. And the 14th one is zoning bylaw 221-2024, and that's a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, and that's regards to concession 1, lot 26, and that was item 7.1.2. So we need someone to move and second the first and second readings of all those bylaws. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we have 15 bylaws, third and final reading, and the first one is bylaw 01-2024, building inspector appointment. The second one, bylaw 02-2025, authorized signing of the North Park of Shakespeare subdivision agreement. The third one, bylaw 03-2025, to provide for interim tax levies for 2025. The fourth one, bylaw 04-2025, to raise money under the Tile Drainage Act. The fifth one, bylaw 05-2025, temporary boring for 2025. The sixth one is bylaw 06-2025, boundary road agreement with the municipality of North Perth. The seventh one, bylaw 07-2025, to adopt the final estimates of all sums required for the year 2025. The eighth one, provisional bylaw 116-2024, to provide for drainage works known as the Ulm Municipal Drain 2024, and that's in the Ellis Ward. The ninth one is bylaw 101-2025, that's branch A of the North Black Creek Municipal Drain Final Assessment. The 10th one is bylaw 102-2025, the Wilker Municipal Drain Final Assessment. The 11th bylaw is 103-2025, the Kelly Municipal Drain City of Stratford Assessment. The 12th one is bylaw 104-2025, the Gilkinson Municipal Drain, and that's in North Perth. 13th bylaw 105-2025, the Acton Municipal Drain, once again in North Perth assessment. The 14th zoning bylaw 216-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, concession 15, lot 1, less highway widening in the Ellis Ward. And the 15th one is zoning bylaw 221-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, concession 1, lot 26. So we have those 15 bylaws, third and final reading. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Andrew, second by Bob. All in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have any notice of motions? Any other business? Do we have other business with the twinning committee?
No, the Stratford.
Oh, I'm sorry, the City of Stratford draft plan of subdivision. Mike, do you want to speak to that? You want me to speak to it, or you can take it away?
I can start, Mayor Agates. So, yeah, we wanted to just share this information with council as it relates to awareness of some development proposed at the east end of Stratford. What we've seen in a planning report that went to the City of Stratford was the proposal suggests an access onto our road 111. So we think it's appropriate that we pay close attention, and that we also probably reiterate the concerns that council in 2017 identified as it relates to Road 111, that if there is development at the east end, that there should be serious consideration as it relates to upgrading or further assessment of the road to make sure that it is going to be maintained and meets the safety requirements with the increased traffic that will result from the development in the City of Stratford. So with support of council, staff would work on reply correspondence to the city to reiterate some of our concerns around Road 111. One thing that we're, Jake and I were speaking about this a little bit earlier, where it's proposed, you'll see it on the screen, is not far away from line 34, which is an MTO controlled road. there's no indication that the MTO was circulated either. They would typically have strong feelings about an intersection being that close to one of their roads as well, and very close to where they're proposing this access is the railway crossing as well. So it's curious that we haven't heard any feedback that's been received from the MTO or CN as it relates to this proposed access. So I think we just need to make Stratford aware of our concerns, representing our residents and businesses in that area that utilize 111 significantly. And with the development even west of this that will also be using 111 more extensively, I think it's important that we have a detailed review completed and that the costs associated with the peer review should be covered by the developer or the city of Stratford. So just some of the initial thoughts that we have as a staff.
Questions, Jerry?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I totally agree. But what would happen, what repercussions would there be if we outright denied the access?
I don't know the answer to that. I anticipate that there's an appeal provision through the Planning Act, Councillor Smith, that they could proceed with. I don't know the answer to that. It is something I think initially we want to make Stratford aware of our concerns and see what that response looks like. And then if we need to consult with legal in terms of what our other options are, it's certainly, yeah, in my mind as well. The one thing that we will be suggesting is that as part of any plan approval, draft plan approval of the subdivision, we would be requesting a reserve along our roadway that basically wouldn't be lifted until our concerns around Road 111 are being addressed. So that's one of the things that we'll ask the city of Stratford to impose as part of the draft plan approval.
Okay, Jeremy?
Are these previous Perth lands, like from a decade ago, that we sent their way?
Yeah.
Correct. 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I believe the conversation started in 2017 and was concluded around 2019 as it relates to those particular lands. But yeah, certainly not that long ago.
So a consideration made to a continuing payment made to us to keep up that road needs to be made, right? Because suddenly we have, I don't know how many lots in here, how many cars driving down there, but whatever mechanisms we have available to us to do that it's gonna, further depreciate that road more quickly. We need to use those mechanisms to
Hugh?
There was another development in Old Perth East lands that Stratford had a nice picture and stuff like that, and then they changed and they allowed people to come out onto our road.
That's Vivian Street.
Vivian Street. So if they were to say this is our plan and pass it and all that kind of stuff, and then they changed the plan and started having all these, changed it enough that people would be starting to come out onto our road instead of at 2 access points. Is there any recourse that we would have if they changed the plan that we eventually maybe possibly agree to?
Very fair questions and questions that we are going to raise with them. The initial plan that was circulated, I think around prior to my time here, but not that long ago, showed 2 accesses onto Road 111. So this plan has already changed once since then, and we weren't recirculated. We saw the planning report and staff reviewed the planning report and saw that now that they're changing the access point. So to me, that changes the traffic impact study, that changes everything, and they need to acknowledge that. And these are the questions that I think are fair for us to ask. This is our road. And yeah, as it relates to future maintenance, I think everything's on the table and should be on the table with the city of Stratford. So that's the reason we're putting it in front of our council.
And that's one of the reasons many times when they send us a plan of subdivision, I make that comment because that happened, right? Those houses should never have come out on Vivian, but they did, so we can't change that, but we can stop it in the future.
But we weren't able to change it last time. Like, we didn't have, there's no mechanism in place for us to not allow that.
Once it was registered,
It's our property.
once it was registered, I don't, I'm not sure if our planners had an opportunity to see it one last time before it went to registration or not. I don't know. I don't know that part. So they showed it to us, they said, this is what's happening, and then somehow they changed it. Maybe Bob has more information.
Well, someone dropped the ball. I'm sure they no longer work at the county, but it was our mistake, right? It wasn't forwarded on and it got approved. Wasn't how we had envisioned it, but things do get changed, and it did.
It's the Planning Act or the Municipal Act that governs this. When a municipality wants access over your roads, what legislation is that?
Yeah, to a certain degree, there would be appeal provisions, and part of the struggle with this when you have it bordering is from a fire standpoint. They'll want to see more than one access point into this subdivision, so they will push that direction. It's really, yeah, multiple parties that need to be involved. And again, when they're at draft plan approval, tonight we passed a subdivision agreement. A subdivision agreement drills down to more specific. A draft plan approval, it can change multiple times. It can, as long as they're meeting the zoning provisions, the official plan provisions, the plan could change, and that could change access points. And clearly that's what happened previously is that when subdivision agreement got approved, it would have been approved by the city of Stratford, but it would have been circulated or should have been circulated to planning staff, Perth East planning staff at the time, and it may have got missed. But we're trying to, yeah, be proactive and let our issues be known now, and trying to convey to Stratford that conditions of draft approval should bring it back to us, because this is our road.
Yeah, circulation doesn't make it sound like we have any control at all. If they're circulating it to us, they're letting us know that this is happening.
City of Stratford has not approved the draft plan at this point. They have just received a report from planning staff.
Right, but they don't require our approval at all, if they're just circulating it to us. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, we're a commenting agent, the same as the MTO would be if you were trying to access their road. They still are the approval authority. This is still our road. My comment, let me rephrase my comment. We are the road authority. This is our road. So yes, the question that was raised by Councillor Smith is, can we stop them? We can say no, but I'm not sure what provisions they have to appeal saying, hey, we have to have this access. The road's there, we'll upgrade it, you know, whatever that looks like. But initially, yeah, we are the road authority, so we can make that clear that unless we are satisfied with what provisions they're going to put in place, that we're not going to grant authority for access.
Yeah, they can't just circulate it and tell us that this is going to happen. Andrew?
Yeah, so that's raise a good question. So what's the scope of the circulation? Will our residents on the other side of the road, they should be following this. I know they know something's going to happen. Would they have seen this, or is there like our planning with anybody within 500 meters gets a letter, or?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not an expert on the circulation. Ashley probably knows this better than I do, but yes, because of the proximity, they would have gotten notification.
Okay, I'm just concerned because they're not in the same municipality, and I don't know.
No, it's based on proximity as opposed to the borders between municipalities.
Well, I like what I'm hearing. You want to do there, CO Givens? It's you know, it's already busy, very, very busy there with all the commuter traffic coming from Woodstock way. To add another, I can't even guess how many cars and traffic. Is there going to be a bus stop in there, right? Like, it maybe needs to be a different road completely if they want to go ahead with this. That's just my opinion.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Bob?
So we've had some problems with the city of Stratford in regards to Vivian Street or line 37. It was a county road at one time before they transferred it to Perth East, but there was certainly an expectation that that was an arterial road and wouldn't have driveways on it, but as I said, problems happened and we're stuck with it. Lining 36 is also a bit of a problem now, given that City of Stratford's not gonna wanna pay towards anything, even though there have been multiple subdivisions along there, right? This, to me, is a convoluted entity because I highly doubt there was a plan to connect Duro Street to Road 111 previously. And now, given that, I don't know, 300 homes are gonna be built beside the Canadian Tire, and this small parcel was annexed in 2019, but it was a phased-in approach over, so it has been on the books for quite some time. But to me, the MTO and the railroad should be circulated and responding to this. I'm not supportive of giving access onto our road unless there's a fairly significant financial contribution, given the problems we have with the City of Stratford. They don't seem to want to pay the boundary roads their fair share, and yet they want everything their way. So if this was a conversation that included the connection to Duro Street, that's fine then, if that happened and we weren't apprised of how busy this could be. But I think it's a different conversation, given that that someday is gonna have, well, a bypass. I'm not sure what else you can do, but I'm not supportive of just saying, well, this is your road and you have to suffer the consequences. Like it's gonna probably need a turning lane at some point. It's not wide enough to incorporate all that. There's a whole lot of things. So is there a further report we could have? Like, if Jeff was here, we could ask him some questions as well, but it's a process that I don't understand. And if we could have some more information and see what else is involved besides, you know, the MTO and the railroad and the county and ourselves, because at some point this road will have a traffic volume that should be a county road, right? I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think my comment around that, Councilor McMillan, is that we're trying to address things as best we can from our own staff perspective, and I don't want to invest unless council, that's the direction of council, that's the direction we'll go. We don't have a traffic engineer on site. I was trying to, you know, make our concerns known, make it clear that, hey, you can't just wave a magic wand and all of a sudden you're gonna have access to our Road 111. You know, there's a lot more work involved in that. I wasn't comfortable spending a lot of time and money going beyond that unless I have direction from council for that purpose. I understand the concerns. I think we all have those concerns and we want to make them evident to Stratford. I think depending upon the feedback that we get from Stratford, then we look at our next options, which may be, engineers involved or a little bit more elaborate information for council and the residents in the area to understand what the implications are going to be.
They don't need access from our road. They have, other drawing shows access from Duro Street. They don't need access from our road. I understand it's a pretty long road to build, but it's on the drawing now. They really don't need it.
We're trying to be proactive.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is what we're trying to do. If you notice, the last letter, the last correspondence we've had about this is in 2022. They didn't let us know lately that this even went to their council. It was in the newspaper. That's where I read it. And so that started raising concerns, and yeah, now we're trying to be proactive and we want to get all those answers. I agree with you, Bob. I don't want them coming out on our road and we're going to be stuck looking after it and everything else. So we're trying to get the message across to them that they need to start communicating with us and talking to us, and possibly the MTO, possibly the CN Rail, and everybody else as well. So, Hugh?
You would like to know what to do? I'd say walk softly and carry a big stick. Beat them many times.
Anyway, just, we wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. We wanted council to know what's going on, so that if you get questions in the community, you know, like I said, we're trying to be proactive, we're trying to get on top of this, and we're trying to make sure that they just can't come out on our road without our permission. So they need to realize it is a Perth East road.
Thank you for that, because I was wondering when I saw it in the agenda package, maybe I haven't been following it closely as I should have been, but I was wondering to see it set up this way on the side.
Yeah, and that's,
Elicited some emotional response.
Andrew?
Thanks, Mary. I'm wondering, who mitigate, like, not mitigates, but is there is this maybe provincial land and development facilitator? Do they have anything to do with, if we're going to LPAT? Does that group, I don't know if you're familiar with that one, it's kind of a impartial facilitation services acting in mediation for planning issues and land. Is that something that we may, have you heard of that one or no?
I have, I think.
This LPAT seems to be like too far, and just curious.
My opinion at this point, what we're dealing with more is as it relates to the road, and it's less of a planning matter from our perspective.
Okay.
That's the way I viewed Councilor McAlpine, is that we're certainly, we've seen what's being proposed, but we have less concern with density and things because it is within their borders. That it's more about the road and using the road as access to these developments on the east end of Stratford. Our approach is to focus on the road and less on inserting ourselves into the planning side of things. So that's been kind of the focus.
No, I agree. It's none of our business for sure, but as far as having them able to do this footprint, they need a road somewhere, so I'm just curious. I'd like to keep on this one.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the City of Stratford draft plan of subdivision 31T22-01, 3980 Road 111, correspondence for information, and that council direct staff to send follow-up correspondence to the mayor and the council of the City of Stratford regarding concerns with traffic entering onto Road 111. Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have any announcements? We do not have a closed session. Then we're down to the confirmatory bylaw, and it's bylaw 08-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on January 14, 2025. Be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the night is that we adjourn at 8:32 p.m. Moved by Hugh, second by Bob. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.